Today we're going through 10 things you need to check yourself on if you consider yourself to be a hard gainer. You're struggling to build muscle, you can't gain weight, and you have been at a plateau in the gym for ages. As someone who started off pretty skinny myself and struggled to gain size, these are some of the issues that I personally ran into and some of the issues I see with countless clients and just other gym goers that I am around. I know it's a super frustrating position to be in when it just feels like you're doing everything, but it usually is just that one thing you are missing. So watch through this list, implement that change, and things might start moving again. So let's get into them. But first, email me directly, ashmaypt@gmail.com, or go to progressivephysiquecoaching.co.uk, top link in the description, for more information about my online coaching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Then we can get into number one. The first tip is to eat smaller meals, start properly tracking your calories, and stop obsessing over protein. 3 in 1. How many times have you heard somebody saying, "Oh, I eat so much food, but I can't gain weight"? In fact, if you're watching this video, you've probably said it yourself. But the truth is here, you're saying you eat so much but can't gain weight. You're probably just not eating that much. You just don't have a big appetite. Because if you had a big appetite, you wouldn't be a hard gainer because you wouldn't struggle with eating. There are a few traps surrounding this issue. So first off is that people will eat a huge meal. They'll be super full and then they will say, "Oh, I've eaten so much today." But the problem is they were so full from that one meal, they ticked their box of "I've eaten a lot," and they forget to eat for the next 23 hours and suddenly they're on OMAD. This is the thing, we all know that person that can sit and demolish a whole large pizza and you think, "Oh my god, they never gain weight," but you don't see that person then not eat for the next day. Like, that's what happens with these people. You need to eat smaller meals more often, not bigger meals, because bigger meals will inherently make you eat less often. So don't try and increase the size of your meals, keep them the same or reduce them, but increase the number of meals. Another trap is that they don't track calories because they think that is just for people who are trying to lose weight. And yes, it is an amazing tool for people that are trying to lose weight to make sure you're not eating too many calories, but hard gainers need to track their calories as well to make sure they're not eating too few calories, because that really does happen. This will take away that situation of eating loads in one go. Like, yes, you might have 3 servings of your mum's shepherd's pie for dinner, but if all the rest you've eaten for that day is 2 sandwiches at lunchtime and you're at a grand total of 2,400 calories for the day and you've figured out you need to be at 3,000, then that's not so much. So track your calories to make sure you actually are eating as much as you think you are. And as for obsessing over protein, there's a few issues here. One, protein is really expensive. It's going to make eating as much as you need just that little bit harder. 2, protein is really, really filling. So if you need to eat more and you are eating way more protein than your body requires, then why are you doing that? And then the last thing is that if you are a hard gainer and you're struggling to eat enough, you need to eat calorie dense things. Proteins aren't calorie dense, so stop eating them. When you are in a hypocaloric diet, that means you're eating enough calories to gain weight, so you're eating more than your body needs. The protein requirements are drastically lowered. So these hard gainers that are eating like 2 times their body weight in protein, that's just stupid. In pounds. So basically what I'm saying is, don't eat a pound of chicken breast, eat a quarter of a pound of chicken breast, and then have rice and some high calorie sauce like satay sauce or something on the side. The next one is where I try to avoid call out culture at all costs, but that is stop trying to gain, recomp, gaintain, all that shit. Building muscle is hard, right? What's also hard is riding a bike up a hill. Trying to build muscle is like trying to ride a bike up a hill. If you are trying to ride a bike up a hill while wearing ankle weights, that's even harder. And trying to do this with your diet, trying to recomp and gain whilst building muscle, is like doing it with ankle weights on. You are making something already hard way harder for yourself for no reason. If you are already struggling to gain muscle, then you need to give yourself the best chance possible. You need to be in a calorie surplus. Eat up and try to see the scale change. If you are calling yourself a hard gainer currently, but you are also currently trying to gain or recomp, then you are lying to yourself. You don't know if you're a hard gainer if you've always been riding a bike uphill with ankle weights. I'm sorry to say it, but for you, the Maingaining recomp culture is going to keep you small and skinny forever. Moving on to some training talk. Number 3, more is not better. Do less and do that better. If you have 20 sets of chest followed by 10 sets of shoulders followed by 6 sets of triceps in one session, that is something I did for years, by the way, that exact 36 set structure. There is literally no way in hell that you are training well with that amount of volume. You will be rushing sets, you will be rushing your rest periods, you won't be controlling and being intentful, you'll just generally be fucking around. I know this because I did it, and I see so many other people do it. A high quality set focuses on a few things. Near perfect technique with intent and focus behind every single rep. Focus on the set. Eccentric tension and load and control on the muscle. Focusing on the target muscle, not just moving the weight. And honestly, so many other more things. And those things are hard. They are tiring to do. They are mentally draining. You cannot do it for 36 sets in a workout. If you say you can, I say you can't. I would honestly argue to anyone that one properly executed hard set is worth 5 sets of fuckery. So stop doing the fuckery and do the good sets. Not too dissimilar from the previous one, number 4 is program your training better. I've seen way too many hard gainers come into the gym with either a terrible program or no program at all. And the reason I know this is because I see them start with cable curls, followed by a bit of lat pull down. They then wander over to the machine curl, then some reverse pec deck, then they turn around and do some normal pec deck, then they do some barbell rows, call it a day. If I need to explain to you why that doesn't make sense, shoot me an email because we need to talk. And yes, there are some situations where weird programming structures are necessary, like specializing, but if you are calling yourself a hard gainer at this stage, you do not need to be specializing. If you are skinny and small and weak, for the love of God, do not try and specialize on growing the long head of your triceps or the inner part of your chest or the sweep of your quads. There's a reason those parts of your muscles look small, because all of your muscle is small. You don't need to get your lower or upper chest bigger. You need to get your chest bigger. You don't need to get bigger long head of your triceps. You need to get all of your triceps bigger. All of your small muscle groups will be brought up, but you need to bring the rest of your body up too. When you pair Maingaining or recomping with programming for the width of your lats or specializing on upper chest as a hard gainer, you're basically doing a marathon while wading through mud. Why would you do that? 5th mistake and the 5th tip is to increase frequency, so avoid the bro split. Yes, the bro split, training a muscle group once per week, can work extremely well for some people, but these people are not you. These people tend to be high responders, strong responders to resistance training. And if you are currently watching this video as a hard gainer, unfortunately, you are not a high responder to resistance training. Neither am I, so a bro split isn't going to work. The reason it works for these people is that they genetically have a very large, elevated response to muscle protein synthesis from training. So if we look on average, when you do a training session, muscle protein synthesis could be elevated for 2 to 3 days following that training session. So that means that you train for 2 to 3 days, you're growing, then you need to train again, otherwise you're wasting time on that muscle group. These people might genetically have elevated protein synthesis for 5 or 6 days. So for them, they are pretty much optimally growing the whole week where they're not training that muscle. But for you, you might be average or you might even be below average. So you might only actually spike muscle protein synthesis for 1 day after training, especially if you're not doing your training very well. And that means you are growing at a ratio of 1 day to 6. That is not a good ratio, so bump up your frequency, pair that with the better programming, and you will start growing better. Number 6 is exercise selection, and I promise you that exercise selection is keeping way more people small than you ever imagined. I'm going to be recording a whole video on this in like 10 minutes time, but I'm going to briefly touch on a little bit of it now. You need to be doing the exercises that are going to move the needle. When you're a hard gainer or stuck in that beginner, early intermediate stage, A session of single arm cable pull downs, reverse pec deck, waiter curls and dumbbell kickbacks just isn't going to cut it. Unfortunately, those are the people that I see doing these things. You might be worried about stimulus to fatigue ratio. The problem is the misconception over stimulus to fatigue ratio is absolutely terrible in the fitness industry right now. Stimulus fatigue isn't about keeping fatigue low, it is about keeping stimulus high relative to the fatigue. If something's super fatiguing but extremely stimulative, then that's fine. Pull-ups are way more fatiguing than single arm cable lat pull downs. Let's say they are twice as fatiguing. But if they also grow 4 times as much muscle, then they are still the better option. So that makes them the better movement, the better choice in that situation. End of. Mistake number 7 is watching influencers. Yes, I went there. Stop watching influencers. I know this is a mistake because, again, I did it myself for years. I wasted so much time trying to learn things from influencers, and honestly, these guys don't have much to teach you. There are a few reasons why this is an issue. One of them is that these guys aren't actually creating educational content. They are creating engaging, enjoyable content with some education in there. It is basically entertainment with some facts dotted in rather than facts with some entertainment. It's the wrong way around. Also, the people that get big on these channels tend to be the people that are genetically gifted, and they have made progress in spite of what they've done, not because of what they've done. So why would you take advice from them? Instead, you need to actually go to educational channels like Revive Stronger, like Renaissance Periodization, like 3DMJ, hopefully like mine, Jeffrey Verity Schofield, Natural Hypertrophy, SSD Able. The list goes on and on and on. There's actual good, informative content out there. So stop watching the guys like Matt Does Fitness and Will Tennyson. No hate against them, but they are entertainment channels, not education channels. Number 8 is a huge one. Stop maxing out and stop thinking that getting stronger is gonna make you bigger. Stop trying to get stronger for a rep and try and get stronger for reps. How many times have you seen this exact thing? A cluster of teenagers walk to the bench press. They max out on the bench press. They do a couple of dumbbell curls. Then they go home and call it a day. They've done that 3 times this week, and they've done it 12 times this month, and they still get nowhere. And there's a reason why they're getting nowhere, because what are they actually really doing? If you sum up the total stress, the cumulative volume they're doing, it's fuck all. You get in a couple of warm-up sets, maybe 1 or 3 sets of a moderate intensity, and then a maximal effort, which is for like 1 rep, which is nowhere near enough volume to stimulate hypertrophy. It makes no sense. You don't get stronger when you're testing how strong you are. You get stronger when you are building the strength, not when you're testing it. But that's not the only problem. They're chasing the wrong goal because they're trying to get bigger, and they are thinking that that 1 rep max correlates with them getting bigger, and very loosely it might do, but not strongly at all. And there's much faster ways, there's much clearer paths to their goal. It's very clear now that strength and hypertrophy aren't actually that well correlated, especially when you're looking at sets below 5 reps. There's not much correlation there. However, if we're looking at like 8 to 15 reps, getting stronger in those rep ranges is actually very correlative of building muscle. So if you can get stronger at some simple single joint movements like lat pull downs, like bicep curls, like SLDLs, I know that's not single, but whatever. If you can get stronger at the 8 to 15 rep range on your big basic movements, then you are probably building muscle. If instead you're getting stronger in the 1 to 3 rep range, are you getting bigger? Maybe, but probably not. Number 9 is a bit of a strange one, but training with friends is killing your gains. Training with friends is a big no-no for a hard gainer, in my opinion, because it does a few terrible things to your training. It wastes your time because you are talking to friends, you're adjusting weights, you're chatting shit, and so on, so on. You end up doing way less in your time in the gym. It also encourages you to do things that you shouldn't be doing. Nobody wants to be the person that is benching the least or doing the least on the leg press. Nobody wants to be that weak person in that group. So you're going to ego lift, you're going to compromise your form and your technique to lift the weights that your friends are lifting if you aren't as strong as them. It does a terrible thing to your training. It also removes the focus of your training on what works well for you, and it goes on what does your group want to do. Maybe you don't feel the bench press very well in your chest and it's not a very good chest exercise for you. Maybe a low incline dumbbell press is a way better way for you personally to develop your chest. But if you go in there with a group of friends and they say it's time to bench press, guess what you're going to end up doing? And that means you're not getting as much from your sessions. I know it might be hard, but I guarantee you that if you are currently a hard gainer and you currently always train with friends, if you take a good 2 to 4 months to purely train by yourself, I guarantee you the quality of your training will massively improve. I guarantee you will progress more than you have been, and you will probably fall in love with training way more. And number 10, the final tip and piece of advice for hard gainers is a 4-letter word: time. Most hard gainers aren't actually hard gainers. They are just slow gainers, and they need more time than the average person. Some people are genetically blessed to make fast progress. However, these people tend to make fast progress and then stall out at their potential, let's call it. You might make slow progress, but you end up at that same place. So if you look at after 1 or 2 years of training, that other person is way ahead of you. But 5 or 10 years down the line, you've ended up in the same place because you've made slow and steady gains. They made really fast gains. Yes, it's frustrating, but trust me, the grass is always greener. There are benefits to being in your position. So maybe you aren't a hard gainer, maybe you're just a slow gainer and you need more damn time. So that is my top 10 tips / mistakes I have for hard gainers. It's things I've done myself, it's things I've seen with loads of clients, and it's things I've seen loads of people do in the gym. Like I said, I know it's frustrating and you may be doing 9 out of 10 of these things, but it might be that one that starts the ball rolling, that gets things moving, that starts you progressing. So don't just dismiss it because the first 9 weren't important. Maybe it's number 10, maybe it's time that you need, and that's okay. But the most important thing is that you keep going, keep learning, keep trying. So if you need some help, you can email me directly, ashmaypt@gmail.com. You can also check out my online coaching in the top link in the description. It will take you to progressivephysiquecoaching.co.uk, my online coaching company, and we can sort you out. Thank you as always for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up. Until next one, see you later, guys.